Okay, this is my new book. It's called The Hidden History of Nutrition, Health, and Science by me, Pete Rogers. Okay, what's this book about? Well, the greatest pioneers in helping people, prevent and cure the chronic diseases and in nutrition, none of them are in the textbooks, okay? Walter Kempner is not ever put in a medical textbook. John McDougall is not ever in a medical textbook. No Caldwell Esselstyn, T. Colin Campbell, none of them are in the medical books. Gregory Sloop, Drs Burkitt. Drs Burkitt will be in the book with regard to Burkitt's lymphoma, but he will not be in the book with regard to abdominal pressure syndrome, which is the most important thing he did. Same with Swank, William C. Roberts. None of these guys, the guys that made the most important findings, they're not in the books. Richard Moore, Michael Brownlee. These are the great geniuses that have made the foundation that enables people to be cured or improved for the common diseases, okay? So, anyways, that's why I wrote the book. These guys deserve to be remembered. Also, I wanted to show the origins and development of science, the modern scientific method, because there's this modern stereotype prejudice that religion and science are two different things. That's actually not true. There's only one truth. They go together. The modern scientific method came from the Catholic Church. That's not debatable. It's obvious if you study the history of it. So I went through a whole bunch of issues in the history of nutrition, health, and science to show who made the discoveries, what did they discover, why it matters, and then I later on showed a lot of detail about the development of the scientific method and who made the discoveries. Because people sort of think, oh, science just started with Isaac Newton. No, it started way, way before him. And then I also explained why did the Industrial Revolution occur where it did. So if you're interested in the history of science, nutrition, and health, it'll all be in here, all the stuff that's not in the regular textbook. I had tons of peripheral reading to put this all together. Okay, now looking at how do I start the book. I put the picture of the fallen angel on the cover because I think that symbolizes, the decline of the West. I actually made a series of books. I call it my series of books of Western civilization. The West is collapsing. It's being destroyed very rapidly, and most of the people are too stupid to even realize what's happening. But I felt there should be a historian to document it, okay? So I don't see anybody else doing it, so I did it. Don't get me wrong. There's some excellent sites here and there, but I have the unique ability to put it all together. So I felt responsible to do that. Okay, so that's one of the things I did. I made a whole series of books on these subjects. And then I'll just share with you a little bit like what goes into my thought process for the book. I want the book to be beautiful, so I put a beautiful thing on the cover and it's elegant. Okay, I discussed that painting itself, The Wounded Angel. I made a video about it earlier on this YouTube channel, but I also in the book, have a brief discussion of why that painting is so special. It's by Hugo Simberg. Then the next thing is, why do I open a book like this? Right when you go to Amazon, you see the prelim of the book, and I want people to see something that shows them this book is unique, okay? I already know I'm completely ostracized from mainstream schools, universities, medical schools, hospitals, so they're never ever going to give me credit or invite me for anything. None of the popular channels will ever speak to me, so I just speak directly to the reader. And I try to show them this book's unique. This is not a kiss ass to convention. First of all, why should you read the book? Because your life depends on it. If you want to be healthy, you need to know this stuff or you're screwed. The cure rate for coronary artery disease with low-fat vegan diet is 100%. The cure rate with pills and surgeries, 0%. 100% cure versus 0% cure. But 99.999% choose the option where they have impossible. No one ever gets cured. Okay, so rules for survival. Don't trust the conventional system. The conventional system is incompetent. I have a quiz that'll show you. I can teach you more in 5 minutes about the common diseases than they learn in 11 years of med school, residency, pre-med. Okay, America is no longer a Christian country. No one gives a rat's tail about you. It runs on atheistic Darwinism, which means survival of the fittest, every man for himself. You are on your own. You either learn what works or you're screwed, okay? And most people are screwed. Most patients never get better, okay? They just keep on taking more and more pills so they crash and burn, get operated on, become demented, and sent off to a nursing home to die. Okay, the other thing I think is funny, if you go to these third world countries, you got third world illiterate savages who, with a bone in their nose, and they know more about how to prevent obesity, diabetes, hypertension, coronary artery disease, autoimmune disease than all the Ivy League department chiefs in internal medicine, endocrinology, rheumatology. Okay, I find that funny. All you got to do is eat low-fat plant-based diet. You don't need all these drugs. Okay, and then basically all the powerful, really powerful people, the billionaires, the big corporations, they hate the pros. They consider you a bunch of vermin who just overpopulate the world and pollute it. And if you don't think that's true, well, then you're stupid and you probably don't belong on this channel. Okay, this channel is only for smart people. There's plenty of fluff elsewhere. Go listen to the high-fat phonies. They'll make you happy. Okay, you can't cure a dietary disease with a pill or a surgery. 0%, okay? In addition, the other thing people don't know is you can't cure a disease by taking a picture of it. Because people ask me all the time, should I get a CAT scan of the chest for coronary artery calcification? I'm like, why bother? You already know you have it. You ate the SAD diet. You have it, okay? There's no mystery. So start treating it. Eat the freaking diet, okay? All right, let's see, what else? I say, a simple rule of thumb is God's way works, man's ways doesn't, okay? Just live like Adam and Eve, but keep your indoor heating and plumbing, Genesis 1:29. Okay, now here's the quiz, and you can ask your doctor these questions. Go up to your doctor, and I don't care if they're from an Ivy League and they're in the top 10% of their class, AOAs. 99% of them don't know the answer to these questions. What is atherosclerosis? The answer is it's a blood clot. Once you know that, everything else will fall into place. All the risk factors increase blood clotting. That's not taught. I did fellowship at Harvard with specialization in vascular disease, and I did not learn that until later. Okay. I suspected it, but I didn't learn it. I'm like, gee, how come I can't tell the difference between a blood clot and atherosclerosis on a CT scan? Because they're the same thing. Okay, number 2, what causes diabetes? Main cause is dietary fat, especially sat fat. That's not taught or known in the schools. Number 3, what causes hypertension? Dietary fat and salt. Okay, populations that eat a lot of that, they got hypertension. The ones that don't, they don't. Number 4, what causes dementia? And then you have to go into my supply and demand theory, but it's basically poor blood flow, stimulants, excitotoxins, and some other toxins, okay, and mitochondrial inhibitors, for example, circuit inhibitors as well. Okay, number 6, what causes cancer? Same as the previous question, but also add chronic inflammation, fungal infections, estrogenics, other types of mitochondrial damage. So there it is. I mean, that's like, that little quiz right there is like some of the most useful stuff you could know to save your life. This is what kills almost everybody. And there's a lot you can do. You're not just a random victim of fate. Okay, I had some fun in the book, things like, I just said, what if there were nutritional Nobel Prizes? Because normally, the Nobel Prizes are designed to reward people that are going to help sell drugs. More than that, but that's largely what it's about. None of these pioneers will ever, Esselstyn will never get a Nobel Prize, Kempner never got one, McDougall never got one, and Campbell never got one. All these guys, Sloop, Swank, none of them will ever get a Nobel Prize. Okay, Last Judgment, the high-fat phonies, I made a video about that previously. Art, literature, culture, timeline. I also included a little bit of conventional history, a little bit of history of conventional medicine, a little bit about the difference between religion and science and how they actually go together, and science comes from religion. That's a fact. It comes from the Catholic Church. There's nothing ambiguous about that. Then I went through the history of science. I go all the way to the beginning of it, from what came from the ancient Greeks, through the Romans, through the monasteries, so people can know the truth about it. Okay, everything I'm telling you is well known. It's extensively published. What was different about my book is I give you the illustrations and pictures. And I think that helps people. You see an image that's more memorable than when you read it, because other guys have written some very good histories. But usually, if you make a book in black and white, then it's really cheap. And it's fast and easy to write. It's fast and easy to format. For me to write these big monster books with all these pictures, where I have all my drawings, I tell you all the books that are written and stuff, it takes a ton of time. I spend as much time formatting images as I do writing it, but I think this is what people need. I think that this is what will stick in their minds better. Okay, all right, so here's a little disclaimer. I said this book tells you the truth about nutrition, health, and science, which is the opposite of what you learn in the public schools. Putting condoms on bananas is not health science, health education. What you learn in public schools and public universities and public medical schools is what I describe as science, with the letter S for dollar sign. I said in the year 2026, there's a civil war being fought between the low-fat fanatics, which is the school of Kempner, Burkitt, Pritikin, McDougall, Esselstyn, Nelson, and Rogers. with a diet of less than 10% fat, which has gotten all the cures and all the good publicity. And now the high-fat phonies have come along and they're trying to claim that they're the ones that cured all these diseases, which is not true. It's a bait and switch. They're trying to steal credit for what the low-fat fanatics did, okay? And then they start promoting this high-fat version of the Mediterranean diet, the semi-vegan Mediterranean diet. I call it the Antichrist diet because it promises salvation but does not deliver. It has about 40% of calories from fat. Good luck curing these diseases with that. Okay, let's see. So remember that high fat I would call anything over 20% of calories from fat. Some people would say over 30%, okay? Some people would call 20% moderate fat, low fat 10%. You can define it different ways, but less than 10% is good to remember. Okay, this book gives you the hidden history of that, and learning the truth. You could save yourself, but the clock is ticking because you want to start reversing things as fast as you can before you start having irreversible events. Irreversible events, myocardial infarction, okay? You know, progressive cognitive decline. I'm going to talk later about why cognitive decline accelerates the longer it's not prevented. There's reasons for that. Okay, and then you'll end up like the typical middle-aged Western chump, okay, fat, sick, and stupid. I cannot tell you how many people I see, they're just kind of sad and hopeless. They're just, you know, falling down a hill of worsening sickness, obesity, and disease, and they can't turn it around, okay? Anyways, we're going to go into all that. I hope you found this helpful, this introduction. So there it is. Hope you found it helpful.